Hello everyone, Jeff here, and this week I am joined by Loco once again,
Hello, hello.
and we are going to be working on the color palettes for the landmass of Antilia again, starting with this northern area up here, which is basically where we left off with the northern fields. Perhaps we can actually add another biome up here. I was kind of thinking we don't really have any marshes anywhere out in Antilia.
Alenfa is thought to be the very wet valley.
Yeah, it's a wet valley. It's kind of up in the mountains, so I wouldn't really call it a marsh. But I'm mostly trying to figure out like down here, we have so many distinct different places, different things going on in Flantros, Redfields, Lennar, the Gallies Mountains. Whereas up here, it just feels like it's all northern fields. Maybe we won't get into it, but just something I was thinking. Working on what I did last week with the building up the scene rendering and the style. It's given me some good confidence that what we're doing with the color palettes is actually going to work. That we're not just wasting our efforts on it. I've gotten the shadows working again, and I've still got to sort out this sky is getting a little aqua, and I don't want that aqua color, so I'm going to have to sort that out. But as the shadows come back in, this is still using that kind of solid color approach. And as the lighting starts to come together and the bloom and everything starts to come together, I think it's working pretty good. Um, Obviously, there's still plenty of room for improvement. We'll keep making little tweaks to this. But generally, I like the way this is going. So if these were colors chosen directly out of our color palettes here, I think it'll start to look really good where different areas will have these distinctive look and feels to them. So we also have to find a color palette for Lantros here, or Talicus, sorry. Lantros down here. Mountainous terrain because we're right up against a mountain, so it's pretty steep here. Probably have some steps that they've built the city into. It should be nice though if those colors were a little bit different than just using the Faint Sire's colors again. So maybe some sort of different vegetation going on here or something.
The Talicus area always struck me as something akin to Switzerland because of the green area surrounded by mountains.
And Loco and I were just noticing that this island out here in particular seems like it could be a kind of a special place because it's so conveniently placed between Orlia and Antilia. So I might make that kind of a special island as well. So let's go ahead and start working on the color palettes. I guess we'll start with maybe these northern islands, which would also kind of wrap into Ariel region a little bit, just because I think up here along these beaches, I don't know if they're all going to be, like this map shows it like all sandy beach all along this coast. I don't know if that'll be the case. It'd be nice to break that up a little bit, but yeah, let's work on the palette for that. Now, there was an area kind of to the west side of these islands. I thought we were going to do kind of like originally it was called like the Speckled Shore, I think, where we had black rocks on gold sand. I don't know if we're going to do that still. I'll have to think about that. Yeah.
Okay, this would do, yes.
Whenever I try to put rocks into the scene, I've tried different browns and stuff, and it just never works out for some reason. I always end up going back to just dark grays. So I've got to figure out how to make those colors work. I haven't figured that out yet. There's also kind of its own biome here. This area here is kind of a lowland. There's actually a cliff. This river's kind of misplaced a little bit. There's supposed to be kind of a cliff here, a cliff face, where this Lennar area is kind of up on a plateau over the red fields in this little valley here, which is kind of like a forest valley. So it almost feels at some point like we should create a color palette just for this little, like move the red fields more over here and make this little lowland forest kind of its own thing. What kind of color ocean do we want to go for up here? I would think kind of that tropical ocean kind of color.
Yeah, this will do. Really, the deep blue ocean is like associated with not with a shallow ocean, but a deep ocean, really.
Yeah.
Sort of Caribbean blue.
Well, let's move on. I'm not 100% on that right there. I'm going to experiment with a little bit of a desaturated green in this area. What do you think?
Maybe a little more tinge of blue rather than green, but just a smidgen.
Okay, so eastern, we'll do this, we'll make this the mangrove forest. And for this, I'll leave the ocean colors, the sand colors, and everything there, and I'll just focus on the color of the mangrove forests. So for one, let's start, well, obviously we'll just do the obvious, which is the colors of the...
The five-color root trees.
But yeah, I want to have more variation this time than just this red, so...
Well, the classical mangroves are sort of like brownish gray.
Yeah, I wanted to put in some gray and then some lighter wood colors, including some light grays and maybe some tan. So I was going to try and stay in the same hue here.
Yeah. Also, we'll have to sort of differentiate between the color of the bark and color of the lumber itself.
Let's figure out the greens, which the greens were always kind of a very dark yellowy green color, I think. I wish I had one of those color palettes that let me see the colors relative to each other on the color wheel. I need to add that sometime, because I know this green's one of those greens that needs to be just the right complement of red, and I can't really see that from without the color wheel. If you're taking a boat anywhere near Lantros, I think if there's a storm in the area, you're going to want to avoid the Lantros ports, just because the weather and the water is going to be turbulent. I think if you're halfway there and you see a bad storm, you might even turn around and go back to Lennar. Like, this is like supposed to be a bad storm system area, and Lantros just feels really exposed to me. Like, there's no, like, these have these nice internal harbors that you can kind of sit in and wait out storms, whereas Lantros, I don't know what do they do if they're boats when the weather's real bad? Maybe that's something I need to research a little bit. But like, yeah, there's kind of no protection here. Even if they made a port, they had some docks. Like, I don't know how they're supposed to use those docks almost without the safety of some sort of harbor bay. Oh well, we're getting a little sidetracked, but we could go back and work on. Yeah, let's do the oasis. What can we do different here? I'm just gonna play with something for here for a second. Like, maybe like that, have a variety of green, and just keep them a bit apart in the hue. What do you think of that? I don't mind that too much.
Maybe we can add like a blue tinge to a color as well, or a flower.
If we had blue to anything, I would like almost think we want to make the water more blue, maybe.
Slightly lighter, yes.
So I've updated the map here with our new palettes. We've got the northern islands, which we just worked on, the Talicus landscape, the eastern island mangrove forests, and the beaches and islands or inlands. And we also reworked the desert oasis palette. So I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. Hopefully this turned out well. I know we talked a lot about just trying to decide on various colors, so I don't know how much of that will end up staying in the video. But thank you for joining me this week, Loko.
You're welcome.
And I hope you all will leave your comments down in the comment section below. I always appreciate your comments, and I hope you'll tune in next time. See you then.
Have fun, everyone.
A special thanks goes to this month's Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the project, you can do so by visiting www.patreon.com/Antilia.